Well, welcome, friends. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends, indeed. It's a special day because it's Valentine's Day 2025. And we are excited about having with us today on our podcast. The good news is Valerie Tsosie. Valerie is from Window Rock, Arizona, and she is an expert of elder care. And she's going to be talking with us today. And welcome, Valerie. How are you today, Valerie?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
So good to see you.
So good to see you as well. I
We've
love the
been
music. Good
we've
job, Wade.
been chatting. Yeah, we just wanted to get something light for this Valentine's Day and see you're here in your nice bed too.
Hmm.
So, um, tell us a little bit about Valerie, about your where you are, what's going on in your life, and then what you got going on in your life career.
Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and introduce myself. She Valerie Sosi and she do lashin shlo tretnes ni bashshin. Tudit ini deshe do trabandashnale. Ike the ku yet shahwint aigi yet ba Hansen. I am Dene from Arizona and from the Navajo Nation. And I just introduced myself to relatives and anybody that will be listening so that we can establish kinship if there's any. And just thankful for coming on, Paul, and allowing me to share my story today with everybody. Uh, so I am, again, Navajo, and I was born and raised here. I ended up leaving when I was 18 to the military and
Hoorah!
was out there for many years, lived overseas, all over the country, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And then around about 10 years ago, I came home to Window Rock, Arizona, uh, to put my skills to test, I guess you could say, to skill to use to my people, my area, my community. And I started off with the WIC program because I love kids. And the funny thing is, I tell the story, and it's so true every time I say it. I was actually going to become a teacher until I found out how much they made, and then I thought, oh, no way, I'm not going to do that. So I actually went into business, and but I still wanted somehow to work with kids to see what I could do. So I started off with WIC. Well, come to find out that the community was great with kids. There was a lot of programs, there was a lot of outreach, there was so many things that we're doing, and I thought, oh, okay, looks like the kiddos are taken care of. That's pretty good. That made me happy. So during that time, I guess the aging program was watching me, and they were like, wow, she's doing a lot. We could probably use her for the caregiving program. I knew nothing about aging. One, I knew nothing about caregiving. But when they came up to me with an offer and I was looking into it and I thought, I love a challenge. This looks good. I'm getting a little bored over here. Might as well. So I went and took the challenge. I took over the caregiving program and I absolutely fell in love with my caregivers. The most selfless, loving, wholehearted, genuine people I've ever met that I could ever want to work for. So did that for a couple of years and I had so much fun, did all these different programs for them. And then COVID hit. Nobody knew what was going on with COVID. Everybody was in, disarray, and the tribe was no different. And they were just didn't know what to do. So everything got gridlocked. And I knew though they actually kind of what shut down my program. And I thought, what are you talking about? Caregiver, you're actually making it so much worse for them now because dementia is not going to stop because of COVID.
No,
Cancer isn't going to stop because of
no.
COVID. So a lot of those things, it was just making it so much harder for them, and they were looking for more resources. So at that point, I decided to take the leap and figured I'm smart enough. I've learned enough. I've been here now, figuring out the lay of the land and what how things work. So I started the Tsosie Foundation, which means big star in Navajo. And the premise was because everywhere I went, and still to this day, I meet caregivers every day. If they know it or not, if they're at the beginning of their journey, if they're in the middle of their journey, if they're at the end of their journey, I meet them every day wherever they were at. So it was like we were wandering in the night, and I was the star, North Star, if you could say, and I would
Mhm.
just guide them on their way and their journey. So that was my story on how I created Sponsor. And that was to provide resources, information, and training to caregivers. And then it was a broad range of caregivers. So the Native community, we have cross generational. So we have kids that are with grandma, grandpa, and they take care of them. So how can we support grandma, grandpa, and the kids, not to like I know we had one, the parents wanted to give more responsibility to the kids. How can we have them manage grandma's, medication? And we're like, no, you can't do that. That's a little too much for kids to have the responsibility for. But it's more of how can they assist them? How can, what are they doing now that might be that they can help with based on their age range and stuff like that? And what does grandma need or the family need? And maybe they're putting too much on the kids as well. So it's kind of assessing and getting the lay of the land of that as well. And then we do primarily, well, we have all types. So like elder care is one of them, people with disabilities, again, kiddos. My youngest class were third graders, and just talking with them about, again, caregiving and what they do with grandma, mom, maybe sister, brother. And then we also have older care where, and with persons with disabilities, where we were noticing that mom was like 90 and the child was like 70 and was still caring for them. How can we support them? Or grandparents taking care of grandchildren. So there's all these different things, like dynamics where I would help them. But then we also noticed a huge influx of dementia on, in, we call Indian countries, kind of the term they use. And I honestly, in the beginning, did not want to touch it. It was so hard because you have to, and when you're dealing with older people in the community, you have to speak Dene, which means the language in Navajo. So you have to speak to communicate with them. It's already very complex. Now you're talking about things that are harder: cancer, dementia, end of life. Also, considering the culture of how do you speak about that? Culture is very important in this. So in the outside community, they'll kind of just put it in your face when that's not how we do things, in the community. We have a way of approaching it. We have things that we consider when we talk about something like that. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to touch it. It was really, really hard. But what I noticed, and thankfully for my unique experience, the reservation is huge. We're broken up into five agencies, if you will. If you look at it, the Navajo Nation as a United States, there's five states within Navajo Nation. So I was able to go to each community and provide training and learn about the community and help them the best I could, and then I would move on to the next state and then the next state and the next state. But and that's where when I really noticed that when I finished a class on anything else for caregivers, they're always coming up to me afterward, oh, thank you for that. That's what we really needed. And then they'll say, I have a question. My person is acting like this, or my person, whatever the behavior was, and then they'll say, is that dementia? Is that Alzheimer's? I'm worried. I'm questioning this. Where do I go? What do I do? I'm scared. I need more information. And that was when the community really told me that, hey, we need help here. So After that, that's when I took the challenge of learning a lot more about it, as well as um, figuring out and how to handle again the culture piece of it and the interpretation. So I had to figure out all of those things, and then I was able to host the first Healthy Brain Day on Navajo in Wind Rock, Arizona, and we're able to have a bunch of different resources all over for again basic stuff. We're still running the series to this day. We run it virtually now, but it's starting from the beginning. What is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? And then we go into behaviors and changes, and then we go to the nitty gritty, like in the end of life. And we have a 10-week series that we do called Finding Meaning and Hope. And then we just loop that because, like I said, I meet new caregivers every day on different parts of their journey, and we wanted to make sure that we give them information for every piece of their journey and we can support them the best we can. And then now I've added a new piece, and my new venture is leadership. So what I found out is that I can't do everything, and I need leaders. I need people in the field to do the work that I'm doing because it's just expanding, and we need to support our Native community. And that's where it actually exploded. In the very beginning, I always say I was a little stingy and more so naive. I was told, here, do this program, and it's for Navajo, and I thought, great, there's no other program like this, do it for Navajo. And I said, all right, I will do it. And what I said was, Navajo everything. We're not going to have any English. This is for Navajo area, for Navajo everything, and we're just going to speak Navajo. And when I put out the flyers and all the outreach and everything, I did a good job because every time I was getting calls, the first thing they were saying was, I'm not Navajo. And I was like, okay, on the phone. And they'll say, okay. And then they go, but I've seen your flyer and I'm in this community. Can I please come? I was getting a huge influx of that type of call, and then I thought, what am I doing? What is? And it's like I had to clunk my head. Hello, we have border towns all over the place. We have spouses that might not be native; they might have non-native spouses. And I just didn't even think of that. So after that day, I completely reframed all of it. And that's where I decided that caregiver, so the concept of caregiver, I thought was only a loss in Native communities, but honestly, it's nationwide. People do not identify with that word, caregiver. So there's different pieces of like caregiver, care partner. Um, there's different words for it, but really, caregiver is an umbrella term that is if you're caring for anybody. It could even be a stranger, it could be your friend, it could be somebody from church, it could be your neighbor. Things that you're doing to just care for a person, and that could be your children, that could be your spouse, that could be again, and then you get into the nitty gritty part of it where caregiving, if you're caring for a person with disabilities, there's a name for it. If you're getting paid and you're working with an agency, that has a name for it. If you're a family caregiver, where again you're just caring for your spouse because you have love for them, or grandma or grandpa, mom and dad, and you watch them, even if you check on them every so often, or I just take them to do the laundry. That's what I get a lot. I just take him to go get their medication. That's still considered a caregiver. So that's another piece in it that we're working on to let people know. But really, it's because, and why are we doing that? It's because there's resources out there for the community, for all caregivers. So since that time, we've been running online and in-person training, and the program is actually global, I'm happy to say, nationwide. Started out nationwide and then it went global. So I get regular students and participants that are coming in from England, Ireland, Canada, Mexico, that come to class. And then we get a lot of people all over the states, like Jersey, New York, Chicago, LA, in our own state that come to classes as well. So that's where, again, the new venture that I have is the leadership portion, is to have that, because there's so much in this. There's such a world in here that I didn't even know, but that's why I love it. It's become my passion, and I'm enjoying this to, again, create this community as best as I can, to support each other.
Wow.
Um, and
Wow.
here now with you, Paul.
I knew, no, no. Valerie, I knew that you were incredibly active in your community. I had no idea how extensive.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah, I just applaud you and your efforts. And you saw a need,
mm.
and there was a couple of forks in the road there for you that you took, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, me.
Well, it just talk about, if you see a fork in the road, take it, like Yogi Bear said. But life is full of forks, and I see where you are now had a lot of forks in the road that you decided that you go down. Not a rabbit trail, although sometimes we get on rabbit trails.
Mm,
Well, that's really great. One of the things you said I thought was incredibly interesting. You said, talking about grandkids and grandparents,
mhm,
and then you said, and they take care of each other.
mhm,
But which is which? Because it's like the grandkids are taking care of the grandparents,
mhm,
and the grandparents are taking care of the kids.
mhm,
And it's really such a such a wonderful and warm cultural embrace
mhm,
of the kids are taking care of grandma and grandpa,
mhm,
grandma and grandpa are taking care of the kids, and
mhm.
it's an incredibly symbiotic relationship, and giving and caring and sharing and total love for each other. So that's
Absolutely. I'll just give you a little tidbit on that. So we don't see time as linear, birth, death, right? We see time as circular. So when you're born, you're getting older, then you have adolescence, and then you become a parent, then you have kids, and then you get older, and then you come back to death, right? And they always say that. So in that piece, uh, the way we learn, and this is a big piece, because I that's where I bring in a lot of native influence in our philosophies and teaching. It's
sure,
so important to me in that, to bring um, that piece back into this, because the way we even learn is so different. So how we would never separate, we would never separate by age. We never separated by adults or kids. So in the Western or outside community, they have first grade, second grade, third grade, right? High school, and they separate all these kids. For us in the community and how we would do things, we never did that. If we had a meeting or something, baby would be there, kids would be there, mom would be there, grandma would be there. They would all be there and listen into this and learn from each other. How do you think that the kids learn how to pay attention during this meeting? I'm just giving an example. This meeting, they'll watch the parents, like, shh, be quiet, we're listening here now. And then they would watch, and that's how they learned how to respect each other, and that's how they would see it. And then how even in class, that's how they're learning now, right? They have to raise their hand. Those are the learned behaviors they have. But in a native community, before all of that, that's how we learned, is we would learn by seeing. The kids would see mom, they would see grandma, grandpa, what they're doing, and then based on their age level and what they're doing, that they would graduate to that level and do and help in whatever was going on. So bringing those type of things back into culture and community, and reminding, because we have a lot of boarding school trauma that can come up too, that has been passed down. So breaking those traumas as well as part of it. So that comes into communication as well. Again, how do you talk about these things? How do you approach these things? And and then also, like, with these hard topics and with these things in the community, and what can we do? So that's why I say he can blossom. And I'm so happy that I can um, go into these different dynamics into helping the needs in the community.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. Instead of sequestering people by
Mhm.
age, let's do a blend. I mean, let's be family,
Yes,
familia to the max.
yes.
And culturally, that is so, from my perspective, that's so much healthier.
Hmm.
And let's say sometimes in the Western culture, like at Thanksgiving, there's the big table
Hmm.
and there's a kids table.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just it's part of what is. So
Hmm.
that's a great concept.
Hmm.
We just love hearing your story. So thank you very much, Valerie. There's a couple of other people on the line today. I wonder if we, in a couple of minutes that we have left, does anybody have any specific questions of Valerie that they'd like to address?
Hi, good morning. Valerie, thanks so much for sharing. I did have a question because you mentioned that a lot of members of your community, have experienced significant, are living with the trauma that they experienced in the boarding schools. And I just think that is, I'm reminded of that because when I've worked with some of the different populations I've been with in the state and different nursing homes and other places, it is really a pattern. And I'm just curious, what kind of supports are there for the community for that specific type of need? And how, are people getting the help and how is that kind of going?
Oh, I love that question. So, uh, man, that's a hard one. A lot of the community, the outside concept or the outside type of help, like support
Mhm.
group or even counseling and stuff like that, doesn't really translate. When I tried to do the first support group, people were looking at me like I was crazy, like I was an alien or something. They're like, I don't want to talk about my feelings, you know? And it
Yeah.
might be generational or not, but I feel like it's cultural as well. And they're just like, I don't want to talk about that. But also in the community, when we have hard things like that, it's on an individual basis at times or a family basis. And I like that term, a family that prays together stays together. So we have ceremony, but that's where the communication comes in. But then also in majority of the cultures, actually what I found out, even in Dene, is that you don't talk about those things because you're bringing back up the past. And honestly, if you don't know how to handle that, because there's a lot in there, that's what I've
Yeah.
learned. A lot of feelings, a lot of hurt. So, how are you really going to support them? And that's where, again, the skills of that person, that family, the communication, it's such a process because that's come down now, right?
Mhm.
Grandma,
Mhm.
daughter, like the parents, and then to the kids, and then to the grandkids, and then grandkids, all from there. So that's already yeah, that's trickled all the way down. And there are some things that they can do, but really it's on the individual basis. It's just like anything else. And if they want to do that, but I feel like at the older grandparent level, they're old school. They're not going to want to do it. It really coming now to the parents my age, like me as
Mhm.
a grandchild. So my mom, we went so far with it. She did not want to, and she voiced that. She said, "I don't want to do, I don't want to talk about this, and don't talk to me about this." It's like she was adamant. And then here I am as the grandchild now, and I'm talking about it to heal those wounds, to do the skills that we've learned. Like I've gone to school, had like some Western, teaching and that with the military, talking with you guys, having these discussions, open discussions, and creating that space for healing. And it's just kind of there, but it's on an individual basis. Seriously, you have to identify, you have that self awareness. Am I Do I have that trauma in myself, and do I want to fix it, and how do I do that? And then you start searching it out for yourself.
Mhm. Thank
Wow.
you.
Mhm.
We talk about the invisible backpack, and the thing is that we don't know what somebody's carrying with them as, don't want to say baggage, but history that was hurtful, and we just don't know. And so that's a great point for us to remember that all of us have history, and sometimes the history is not as pleasant as we would like to envision or remember. So thank you for that. That's great. Well, unfortunately, we've just totally run out of time, Valerie. You just knocked it out of the park, and I just really appreciate you being here and sharing about your life experience. I think we've just scratched the surface with you, girl. And
Absolutely.
I want to applaud you. Would you just give us the name of your organization and contact information in case someone would like to participate, donate, participate in financially or otherwise?
Absolutely. And if your donation goes on to scholarships, buying supplies, allowing us to do different programs for our community wherever we see that need, it is called the Tsosie Foundation. And that's spelled T is in Tango, SOH Foundation. And you can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a webpage, tsosiefoundation.org. And you can always give us a call at 505 608 0540. And would love to talk and collaborate and see if there's anything we can do, even for a good fit with training, information, referrals, if that aligns as well. I'm always open to that and seeing what we can do and how we can work that out.
Great. That number again is 505-608-0540. That's the best way to get a hold of you, at least on the phone and then also on the website. We really appreciate you and thank you for your incredible impact on the world community and especially to the Native community where you are. I really appreciate you. And as a Marine, I really appreciate the culture of the Navajo because the Navajo code talkers did a world of good, especially during World War II. Just absolutely wonderful group of men that did it big time. Thank you very much, Valerie. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you,
Continue
Paul.
great
Thank you,
success.
everybody. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you, everybody, for being here on this Valentine's Day 2025. We hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Valerie is just knocking it out of the park in the world. Thank you again, Valerie, for being with us. We'll see you again next time. God bless.